Hey everyone! Today I'm going to show you this basic stage makeup look. If you're wondering why I'm wearing so much makeup, that's why. So let's get started. Before I start, I always make sure that I have all makeup off and I've cleansed and moisturized my face. Next I'm going to come in with a primer, which for stage makeup is really essential. So I love this Tarte product. It's a Tarte Clean Slate Poreless Primer, and I'm just going to start by putting that all over my face. So after my face primer, I'm also going to use an eye primer. This one is also by Tarte. I use my eye primer both on the upper lids as well as underneath my eyes. And you just want to pat that on so that you're not pulling at the skin. Hi Coco! Somebody wants to say hi. What do you think? Do you think, oh yeah, is that what you think? Yep, okay. So where was I? Another thing I often do before I start putting on my stage makeup is use this guy. By the end of a long day and before performance, sometimes I'm tired, most times I'm tired, and my eyes get really red and really dry. So keep some eye drops in your stage makeup kit. Next, I'm going to put foundation all over my face, and I'm going to use a beauty blender sponge to do that. I put a little bit onto my mixing palette, which is actually just a clear plastic plate, and I dipped the thick end of the beauty sponge into that, and this beauty sponge is damp. Then I'm just going to stipple that all over my face, starting from the center and going out. A beauty blender is great because it's super easy to apply and it's very fast. So I definitely recommend getting a beauty blender if you don't have one. When you're putting your foundation on, you also want to bring it down onto your neck because the last thing you want is a really harsh line and you don't want two different colors. Hopefully your foundation matches, but just in case it's a little off, make sure you bring that all the way down. Another thing I do is the ears. I know that's a bit odd, but my ears get red. And with that, I was using the Makeup Forever Ultra HD, and I actually just got this. I loved their old formula, and their new formula is great as well. And this is in the shade Y235. Okay, so now I'm going to come in with my color corrector. This is the color corrector from Tarte in light medium, and I'm using my Tarte concealer brush to apply it. I'm just going to apply this on the under eyes because we're going to put on a base later. And this is a double-ended brush, as you can see. So you have one end for stippling it on and one end for blending it in. When I'm putting this on, I make sure to go into this section of my eye because I get quite blue and it'll just make me look more tired if I don't cover that up. Goodbye dark circles. Then I'm just going to take a little bit of Tarte's Creaseless Concealer and add that on top of the color corrector. Again, just with the same brush. And just a little bit, because we're going to add more contour later, which is essentially concealer anyway. Now I'm going to jump into doing my brows, and this is the Tarte Amazonian Clay Waterproof Brow Pencil that I'm using. I actually really want to try the Anastasia Dip Brow, especially for stage, but I just need to order it still. So starting by drawing in the bottom, coming up, deciding where the arch is going to be, and coming down on the top from there. So for stage, I'm obviously going to make this darker and thicker than I would in my daily life. And blending as I go along. And a reminder with all of this that it doesn't have to look perfect from up close because your audience will never see it from up close. After that, I would suggest going over the brow with a clear brow gel or tinted brow gel, whatever you prefer. I just don't have any with me right now. So now I'm going to use an eyeshadow base, and as you can see, I've just been applying this with my finger. This is another step that's really important to make sure that your eyeshadow stays on throughout the entire performance. I love using the Pro Longwear paint pots, and I have two different color options that you could use, either painterly or soft ochre. I prefer soft ochre, especially for stage. It's a bit brighter. The main difference between the two is that soft ochre is a yellow and the painterly is more of a beige pinky color. So depending on your skin type, you can choose whichever you want. So on top of that, just to set the base, I'm going to use Brule by MAC. And I'm putting that all over my eyelid. Adding a neutral shadow like this is also going to make it much easier to blend in the colors that we put on later. I also want to say that even though I'm only showing you one eye, I do work back and forth, so I don't do one eye completely and then go to the other eye. I do each step on both eyes. I'm taking a brown shade by MAC that's called Wedge, and I'm putting that on with my MAC 224 blending brush. And I'm just going to lightly build this into the crease. And I'm also adding it to the outside corner of my eyes. So now I'm taking a darker brown eyeshadow by MAC as well. This one's called Espresso. And I'm using a brush by Too Faced called their liner brush. And I'm going to use it to build up my crease. You always want to start light and build your way. Don't add too much product at first. As you can see, I'm placing my crease above my natural real crease. By doing this, it's just creating a bigger, more opened eye effect. So as you can see, what this has done is created my crease much higher than my normal crease, but I promise from far away it will look okay. This is a moment where you're going to have to figure out what looks most flattering for your eye. Do you have small eyes? Do you have big eyes? What look do you want to create? Play with where you put this line, how dark it is. Do you keep the darker part at the bottom? Do you keep the darker part at the top? Experiment. This is just what I found works best for me. I'm coming back in with that same 224 brush and I'm blending it, but just ever so slightly. If you blend it too much, the lines won't read from far away, but I also want it to look nice and even. Taking the same brush that I used for the all-over color, which I think I forgot to say is this Eco Tools brush. I'm going to use a palette by Urban Decay that's called Naked Basics. It has some great basic colors in it, as the name suggests. I'm just taking the shade WOS and I'm going to pat that onto the lid to clean up what we did and to brighten and open the eye. As you can see, I'm focusing this on the middle to inside, not so much the outside of the eye. Then taking my blending brush, just ever so lightly blending it with a few sweeps. From that same palette, with the same brush, I'm using the shade Venus for underneath the eyebrows. Be careful when doing this because you don't want to cover the crease that we just created. So now the eye shape is starting to come together. I do my eyeshadow at this point because now I'm going to take a brush and just really gently wipe away anything that's fallen from when I was doing my eyeshadow. I'm going to use a contour palette to make sure that all of my features are seen, my cheekbones, my whole face, so that you can see it no matter how far away you are. To do this, I'm using this Cover FX contour palette, and it's in the shade P Light Medium. Using the darkest shade of the palette, which is number 4, and I'm using a brush by Sonia Kashuk, which was a new name for me actually. I found this at Target and decided to give it a try, and I really like it. So I dipped that just into the edge of the brush, and now I'm going to go and find underneath my cheekbone. So you can feel that it's just the hollows of your cheek. This is just going to give you a more chiseled look from far away and up close. Starting really lightly and just using the tip of that brush, I'm making my outline. Looking straight on, you can decide how far down you want this to go. And yes, sometimes I make that silly little fishy face to decide where I want my contour to go. Next, we're going to place some right under the chin line and the jaw. And around the top of the forehead. As well as a little bit where your temples are. Now I'm coming in with the highlighter, which is the number 1 shade of this palette. You start by making your V of light right underneath the eyes. And this is the part where I said we're going to use concealer later. This is it. I bring that up near my tear duct and down to my cheek. I also like to bring this color all the way across the top of my cheekbone, as well as in between the lower half. Then you're going to take some down the center of your nose and connect that all the way to the forehead. But make sure that you don't touch the contour that's up here. So it's just below that. Then a little bit onto the chin and the Cupid's bow just right here. So this looks crazy right now, but we're gonna blend it and I'll show you the magic of contouring. So I'm taking the same damp beauty blender that I used to put on my foundation and I'm going to start blending in my contour. I'm going to start with the light shades and then go to the dark, using different parts of my beauty blender so it doesn't get too mixed up. So I like to start with underneath my eyes. And we don't want to blend this away too much, and that's why I love using a beauty blender. Because I find if I use a brush, it takes off too much product. So this leaves the product where it is, but just blends all of those harsh lines away. Woo! Did you hear that? Florida rainstorm for you. Now the highlights are blended, we're going to go into the contour shade. And when I blend this, I always want to blend going upwards, not down. Same up here, I'm pulling upwards rather than down, or just patting straight in. Now you want to make sure that it's even. So just keep blending, or you can go back and add a little bit more product, whatever your heart desires. This thunder is crazy! Coco, where are you? Coco's afraid of the thunder, so she might join us for a little while. That's okay. I almost forgot one very important step, which is contouring my nose. I like to do this with the slightly lighter shade, which is number 3 of this contour palette. I'll be putting that on with another Too Faced brush, and this is called Contour. It looks like this. I quite like it for contouring my nose because it has that pointy side, which makes it really precise, and then the other side makes it easy to blend it in. So taking the tip of that brush into number 3, I'm just going to go ahead, starting from my eyebrow, really lightly adding that in. As well as adding a little bit to the nostril and a little bit to the tip of my nose here. Then I'm just going to go ahead using the other side and blend that out. Then after that I like to go in with a little bit more highlighter. So now that we've done all this contouring, another important step is to powder it all, because the powder is going to set it and make sure that none of this stuff moves. So you avoid the eyes obviously, but just powder everything else. I've wiped any excess product off of my beauty blender, and again I'm going to use that to place my powder onto my face. The powder I'm using is by Tarte, and it's called Smooth Operator Amazonian Clay Finishing Powder. And this is a loose powder format. So I'm just dipping that into the lid that has some of the product on it, and then placing that all over my face. You can be sloppy with this, it's fine, we're going to dust it off in just a second. So now I'm taking a big fanned out brush and ever so lightly brushing away the excess powder. We've put so much product under our eyes that you really want to make sure to powder it well. Sometimes I'll go in with my fingers like this. It will look creasy if you have creases, but again, people are seeing this from far away, and that's the important part. Sometimes I'll come back in after I powder and just really lightly with the brush that I used to contour. Didn't add any more product or anything, I just lightly dusting that area. So now it's time for blush, and I'm going to use Pinch Me by MAC with an Eco Tools blush brush. And as you can see, I'm just swiping that right above the contour and a little bit on the apples of the cheeks. To add a bit of shimmery highlight, I'm actually going to use an eyeshadow. This is the Peach Parfait eyeshadow trio, and it's by Pop Beauty. So I'm using the lightest shade in that and just coming in with my fingers onto the very tops of my cheekbones. And I'm also going to take a little bit of this and put it right in the center of my eye. Again, just using my finger. So now that the complexion's done, we're going to zoom back into my eyes. Now we're going to start the eyeliner. I'm using Tattoo Liner by Kate Von D. This is my absolute favorite eyeliner for stage. Once I put it on, it's not going anywhere. So I'm just filling in along the eyelash base to start, but I'm not going all the way to the end of my eye. Now we're going to start creating the wing. Don't be afraid. As you can see, I'm creating this pretty differently than I would create a daytime winged look. I've moved where I start the line much further up my eye. And I do this because the whole point of this is to create a more wide eye, opened eye effect. Normal winged eyeliner techniques will have you start from the bottom and work out. If I were to do that, what it would do on stage is create a very closed eye look. And I want the audience to be able to see my eyes from very, very far away. Now doing the bottom eyeliner with this is fairly simple. I just kind of let it do the work and I trace my natural eyes, starting from the middle and going out. You want to start with a thin line because you can always build it up afterwards. You'll also notice that I've pulled it down from where my waterline is, again just creating a bigger eye look this way. Now I'm just going to apply my eyelashes. I know you can still see some white from the glue right there, but it'll dry completely clear so you won't be able to see it. And then I'm just going to add on some mascara. These were brand new lashes, so they had no mascara on them already. So I always like to build it up into my real eyelashes. And for this mascara, it's the Lash Blast Volume by CoverGirl. I personally like to add mascara both to the top and the bottom lashes, but if you have particularly small eyes, I would suggest just doing the eyeliner and not putting mascara on the bottom lashes. Instead, you can use a white eyeliner to tightline the inside, and that'll make your eyes appear even bigger. Another tip is to always use waterproof mascara. I had a teacher who told us of a horror story of a girl who was dancing Swan Lake core, standing on the side, and all of a sudden my teacher looks up, sees her friend. She has black all down her face. Looks like she's crying black tears. So to avoid that, definitely use waterproof mascara. Alright, we're almost done. Now is just lips. I've been loving liquid lipsticks lately, and I think they're perfect for stage because they're not going to go anywhere. So, the one I'm putting on today is by Kat Von D, and it's in the shade Berlin. So I don't put anything on my lips before putting on a liquid lipstick so that it can apply and stick to my lips better. Choosing a lipstick shade can be tricky, and it really just depends what you're performing. You want to pick something that the audience is going to be able to see, but sometimes a really bright red might not be appropriate for a certain role, or a bright pink like this also might not be appropriate. So just have a think about what your character is, what you're trying to say, and then pick your lipstick color based on that. Sometimes after I've put on my eyelashes, I come back in and I'll add a little bit more eyeliner just to clean up those lines. After that lipstick's set and nothing's coming off when you touch it, I add a little bit of lip gloss. The lip gloss I'm using is made by Pacifica, which I actually buy at Whole Foods, and this is Enlightened Gloss Nourishing Mineral Lip Shine, and it's in the shade Opal. I'm not putting too much on, but just a little bit to hydrate the lips. So I've dabbed that on, and then I'm just moving it around with my fingers, focusing on the center of the lips. The last thing I'll do before I go on stage, this is a little trick, is I'll take just a small amount of Vaseline onto my finger, and I actually put that on my teeth. I usually just put it on the top teeth like this, and what that's going to do is help your mouth from getting too dry. You know that lovely little smile that gets stuck even when you're trying to frown? Yes, this will help that moment. You're welcome. So that finishes up my basic stage makeup look. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. Don't forget to comment and let me know what you think. Thumbs up if you liked it. Subscribe if you really liked it. Good. See you guys next time.